Here we have is the graveyard. Here is the White Pine County Railroad Museum. Has a few connects with another railroad museum that will be tomorrow's video, or for another channel video. This is the Santa Fe Southern Railways observation car called Sierra Nevada. They have Kennecott number 12, a wooden caboose, and also a box car, and a few other equipment. And they have the station from that one from there. If you want to check out it, I'm not sure if I'm going to visit this museum tomorrow when I'm up tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be asleep tonight. You want to come here? Come here. And also, if you see any ghosts, put it down in the comments. If you see anything weird or see anything, if you see any shadows that aren't mine, let me know. AI. Felt earlier, just a few minutes ago, I felt something weird over here. If you see anything weird, let me know. Or future me, if you see anything weird. Oh, that's an old vehicle. See something weird, let me know. Old railroad pins. Yeah, I'm probably gonna miss something. Am I? This is another part of the museum, and that's basically it. Oh my gosh, that's a train! Welcome back to Big Boy 4014 Productions. My name is Jack, and welcome to the Ely, Nevada Railroad Museum. My name is Jack, and this is the Ely Railroad Depot. Enjoy this video. It's going to be switching to a few other cameras. I'm trying to figure out my few of the places. This is the upstairs. This is an old powder clock. Hello. This is one this is number 103. Southern Pacific. Some old railroad cap. Can I have a nice order of Skittles?
They worked in this building till 1983. That was the year that everything closed up. Everything in the rooms date back to the early 1900s. Okay. And we have 7 rooms. The one you came out of, sir, and the rest of them are down the hallway. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, if you have questions, come on up and I'll help you out. All right, thank you so much. You're welcome.
Good.
Yep.
Like, they have stuff like this. American. Hey, my school has that. Show you another video. Safety first, it's always on the thing. This is when they were building the railroad. Some mining caps. Please only. America wants you. 95. That's scrapped. Telegrams.
Wow.
Hello. Oh, he was with us. I signed this in. But she could probably tell you some great history.
Tonight, I came up over here, see what this place looked like after dark. Man, the building right over there, it was creepy. I believe that's the RIP building, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the Coling House. We'll check that out later, maybe. Now this is a special place, another rail findings place. Oh, that's Nevada Northern number 81, maybe. This is Dirt the Cat. Or this is his grave statue. A moment of silence for him. Yeah, I think a steam train's about to show up on. I think a steam train's about to show up on camera. That's 81. Quickly heading out of the yard. this is the East Ely Depot. We head in leaving that way. The line used to go that way to the Southern Pacific, now the Union Pacific, but now we're heading towards where the mines were, heading on the spur line of called the Mine Spur, or they talk about it on the trip, heading all the way down to this Y for heading back and forth. It used to go all the way down the roof, as you can see by this abandoned track. It used to go all the way down to the mines down there, but it doesn't anymore. Well, that's how life is sometimes. Get night stings. But anyway, here's my solo trip.
As we back out of the East Ely Depot along the original main line of the Nevada Northern, over 100 years of railroading history can be seen to either side. Since the completion of the Nevada Northern to Ely on September 29, 1906, it has been the lifeblood of the county, making modern communication possible with the rest of the country. The dry climate of the high desert Great Basin also managed to preserve a slice of historical railroading, as much of the original railroad has survived. 70s and stored in the yard. Restored by Rick's Restoration and featured on the History Channel program American Restoration in 2013,
Nice.
they now guard the crossing in the yard.
You need to fix the crossing, buddy.
The Nevada Northern Railway was chartered on May 29, 1905, for the purpose of mining the copper deposits discovered near Ruth, just outside of Ely. Construction started on September 11, 1905, at Cobrae, Nevada, 130 miles north of town. Though Mark Regla, the president of the railroad, confidently predicted that the Nevada Northern would reach Ely by the end of 1905, circumstances proved otherwise. Because of delays, including one of the worst winters on record and the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, the railroad was finally completed to the county courthouse on September 29, 1906. The arrival of the railroad changed everything. In 1900, there were 525 people living in the Ely area. By 1910, the area had been enlarged into the surrounding towns, with population in Ely alone over 2,000 people. The combined total for the cities of the area had a population at 5,800 people.
That car needs some restoration work. Literally. you go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
10 miles north of town at the McGill Ranch was chosen. Today we are being pulled by Baldwin locomotive number 81. Number 81 is our youngest steam locomotive and was delivered brand new to the Nevada Northern in March 1917. She was built to handle the freight traffic between East Ely and the interchanges at Shafter and Cobrae, though she could be found pulling ore and passenger trains as well. She was retired in the mid-1950s and placed on display at the White Pine Public Museum here in Ely in 1960. She returned to the Nevada Northern in 1990 and was returned to the service in September 2021. Number 81 is a 280 consolidation, meaning she has 2 pilot wheels, 8 drivers, and 0 trailing. 81 weighs 89 tons and has a tractive effort of 36,200 pounds. Our firemen will be shoveling 1 1/4 tons of coal today and using 2,000 gallons of water on our trip today.
Well, whose locomotive tender is this? That is number 10's. Sad that 10, the locomotive survived. At least the locomotive's tender survived. In a moment, we'll be crossing Lackawanna Road. Just as we cross this crossing, keep a lookout on the right-hand side of the train for a horse sculpture. This sculpture was created by Augusta Calloway. It was created using old ranching equipment from her family's ranch and a skull from her first horse. It has been featured at Burning Man 7 times and was purchased by White Pine County Tourism for display near the city corrals. Also coming up on the right-hand side will be a pair of wooden structures. What look like Hello there!
When the Nevada Northern reached Ely in 1906, they had the rights to build out Almond Street. Several of the businesses along Almond, hence the railroads, moved 1 street south to Garden Street, now Clark Street, despite the complaints from those living along the street. These complaints came to a head in 1907 as the railroad built a route through Robertson Canyon. With the constant stream of construction trains running through town, residents began complaining about the noise and cinders. Additional complaints arose from the fact that the railroad had labeled their new depot east of town Ely, rather than construct a depot downtown. Ultimately, the town sued the railroad. The result was that the railroad constructed a depot downtown, renamed their depot first to Ely City, then in late 1908 to East Ely, and constructed a bypass around town. We are traveling along that bypass now, and will meet at the location of the original main line near the first tunnel. Rising to meet us. Part of the road is located on the old mainline grade. From here, we'll be back on the original 1907 path to Ruth and Poplar Flat. It took 10 months for the railroad to reach the lines at Bedford and Kimberly, 10 miles from Ely. This was due in part to the railroad having to construct 2 tunnels through Robertson Canyon. While the original second tunnel no longer exists, we are now approaching the first. Tunnel number 1 was built in 1907. It is a curved tunnel 311 feet long. The fact that it is built through solid rock has contributed to its longevity. It was also built to the size of trains, so please make sure to keep inside the train as we travel through. Additionally, we recommend that you face towards the back of the train as we go through to protect yourself from the cinders from the locomotive.
Okay. Oh, oh, walla went down in the plan.
This area just west of the tunnel has been subject to many road revisions over the years.
Highway 50 is known as the loneliest road in America. This name comes from a traveling editor who was traveling across Highway 50 in the mid-1980s. I wonder what that truck is. In 1986, he's traveling across Nevada, and this editor was rather unimpressed by the utter lack of civilization that he encountered across the route, and he wrote an article deriding everything he saw. He even quoted a AAA spokesperson who said, Highway 50 is totally empty. There are no points of interest and we don't recommend it. We warn all motorists not to drive there unless they are confident in their survival skills.
Hey,
Today that may not apply because our cars are better than they've ever been before, but we believe that this remoteness is what gives Highway 50 its charm. Along the way, the views are almost exactly the same as people would have encountered when they first traveled across Nevada 150 years ago. And additionally, what is found along the route is often unique and usually found nowhere else. The White Pine Chamber of Commerce suggested naming Highway 50 as the loneliest road in America to kind of capitalize on this negative. And eventually, the Nevada Commission on Tourism developed official Highway 50 survival guides, which are available in our gift shop. They're complimentary. You get the guide stamped in 5 and 8 pounds along the route of Highway 50. Mail in the form
You continue listening to the history. I'm gonna go outside. Careful. Coming through.
Once again, if you look off to the right-hand side of the screen, just above the blue atop the highway sign on Highway 50, you can see at the corner of the sea a pair of buildings tucked up a little gully above the road. Once upon a time, you could purchase actual sticks of dynamite from your local hardware store. However, storing dynamite in town was rather dangerous. So one of the local hardware stores constructed a shed outside of town for safety. You go to the hardware store, you place your order, they'd send someone out to go collect your dynamite, and they'd come back and let you know when it was available to be picked up. The concrete shed close to the tracks was for the storage of the dynamite itself, and the metal shed behind it was for the storage of the plastic packs. Right now, our locomotive is working up what is about a 2% grade. The train today is being pulled by Locomotive 81. It was built in 1917 to haul the freight trains from Ely to Cobra. She has a 280 wheel arrangement, and she would sometimes be seen pulling freight trains or pulling passenger trains back in the day. Today, on our trip up and down the hill, the firemen will shovel in roughly 2,500 pounds of coal during this trip. That roughly amounts to 1.5 tons. The firemen shoveled 2,000 pounds uphill and 5,000 pounds down. The trick with firing is you want to avoid shoveling a lot of coal, and instead you're focused on keeping your fire light and bright. The oxygen that you're getting for your fire comes up through the grates of the firebox. That is the floor. It's just like a charcoal grill at a park. Too much coal will smother these grates and it will smother the fire and put it out. Too little coal will starve your fire and put it out. So as the locomotive works up the hill, that fire inside the firebox is bluish white. The fireman also serves as the eyes of the engineer on left-hand curves and has to keep the deck clean and ring the bells for crossings and blind curves. We are now approaching Lane City. I mentioned Charles D. Lane before.
This is lame.
The story of Lane City. Originally, this area was known as Mineral City, but it was renamed Lane City when Charles D. Lane purchased the Chinaman Mine in 1896. According to historian Stanley Kramer, Lane was told by spirits of the great wealth to be found in the area. Lane invested over $168,000. That is $168,000 in 1890s money. $168,000. How many millions of dollars are we talking about here? In a water ditch, a power plant, and a 100-ton cyanide mill. The mill started operating in March 1902, but encountered issues. There were no large gold veins to be found, like the spirits had allegedly told Lane, and the ore that was pulled out of the ground would not respond to the cyanidation process, thanks in large part to the amount of copper ore present in the dirt. Lane's efforts were all in vain, but it appears that the spirits were correct, just off in their predictions, because from 1908 to 1978, over 4 billion pounds of copper was produced from the mines around the route. Mr. Lane missed all of that wealth by only 5 miles. If you look off to the right-hand side of the train, you can see the remains of a closed town.
lame. Yeah, that's.
The Western development of the United States, otherwise known as Manifest Destiny, occurred in large part thanks to the Mexican-American War. California, Nevada, and Arizona were originally all a part of Mexico, and after the war, Mexico ceded these states to the United States of America. 10 days before the treaty is signed, Sutter's Fort in California strikes gold, but information in those days traveled slowly. Mexico signed the peace treaty 10 days after the discovery without ever hearing of it. 1849. Gold! 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 The largest migration ever seen moving west, everyone looking to strike it rich by finding gold in California. Nobody does. Well, some people did. Most people went broke and headed back east. Along the way, they come across the Comstock loading in western Nevada. Silver, silver, silver! But nobody gets rich, they keep going east. Austin, Nevada. Silver, silver, silver! Nobody gets rich, they keep heading east. Eureka, Nevada, mentioned before. Silver, silver, silver! But nobody gets rich. The next big rush is 1868 at Hamilton, Nevada, in White Pine County. It's another silver rush. The discovery of silver in this area is so rich, they actually find a plug. This is a silver deposit the size of a room, like a geode. If you've ever cracked open a geode rock before and looked at the crystals inside, that's what they found. A room-sized geode full of silver. By the 1880s and the 1890s, the treasure city of White Pine County, Nevada is risking losing its entirely because the population is a little one representative in the U.S. House and 2 senators in the U.S. Senate, but how many people are they really representing? Because all of those people have begun to leave Nevada. The powers that be begin discussing merging Nevada with Idaho into the Nevada-Idaho territory. In 1898, there's a big gold discovery in the Klondike of Alaska, near White Horse, etc. If you've ever been familiar with the Alaska Klondike, you know what I'm talking about. Back in Nevada, they have an excitement down south of Death Valley. Inspired by the Alaskan gold rush, they named this area Klondike to trick people into coming out into Nevada because they think they're going to find gold. They don't. You don't find much at all. There's a gentleman named Jim Butler who takes his mule to the Klondike, walking across Nevada. Along his journey, he camped near a spring, and he gets to find that his mule had wandered off. Now, this sort of pissed him off, so he starts looking for that mule. He finds it, but it's off in the distance, so he reaches down and he pick up a rock to throw at the mule, and, well, what is this? He looks at what he's got in his hand.
What?
It's kind of interesting. The rock kind of stands out amongst the other rocks of the desert, so he picks up a few more that look like it, and he heads back to the Klondike. He submits these rocks to an assayer at the Klondike, who says, they're nothing special. Jim, a savvy gentleman, doesn't believe it. He collects more rocks and heads home. A gentleman named Casper Bodie, who's a close personal acquaintance with Jim, asked him about these rocks, and Jim said, well, I really think there's something.
Yeah, baby!
Casper says, well, here, give me your rocks. I'm heading to Austin, Nevada. They have an assayer there who specializes in silver ore. I'll take them and get them assayed. He takes them to Austin. The assayer at Austin says they are very rich in silver ore. This turned out to be a giant silver deposit in Tonopah, Nevada. 20 miles south, Goldfield, Rhyolite, Manhattan, they find silver there too. Things are great. Jim and his mule, in their discovery of all that silver, saved Nevada statehood. Things begin coming. Jim gets all the mining claims because he's the one who discovered all of this silver. But he doesn't want to do any mining, so he leases these claims out to prospectors and gets rich without turning a shovel over at all. Things are booming, and meanwhile you have 2 railroads trying to reach Tonopah. The Tonopah and Tidewater and the Las Vegas and Tonopah Railroad. Plus, together with the Nevada Northern Railway up here in Ely, things are great until the 1920s when the gold plays out in Goldfield. Goldfield was the largest city in Nevada at the time and was served by 4 separate railroads, not including the Nevada Northern. When the verb of Goldfield played out, everybody left. This left White Pine County as the powerhouse county of Nevada in the 1920s. This would not last long, but it was a glorious moment in history for White Pine County.
Coming up to Lover's Canyon.
Now, during the 1910s and the 1920s, things were going great for the railroad. World War II began in the mid-1910s, and during the war, copper is king. You can't have a war without copper. Copper goes into bullets, cartridges, telephone lines, the whole bit. You need all of that to have a war. During this war, the railroad and the mine and the smelter and the mill are operating 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The war ends in 1918, and the market of copper is flooded. They don't need copper anymore, so they shut down the mine, the mill, the smelter, and the railroad begins handling very light traffic until about 1941, when copper starts coming back again. By 1922, the railroad is going full on. One Sunday evening in 1922, an ore train is delivered to the mill at McGill. The ore cars were full of ore and made of wood. A stray spark lit up one of these cars, and eventually the fire spread by a northwest wind, fueling the fire across the entire mill and smelter in McGill. The whole complex is lost. Absolutely nothing is left. The general manager of operations at McGill writes a very long telegram to the railroad president at the time, E.C. Jackson. Received that telegram in the middle of the night. The general manager of operations receives a return telegram the very next morning, made up of 2 words: rebuilding. No committee meetings, no reviews, just one man who's just making one decision. We still have that telegram preserved upstairs in the Nevada Northern Precinct. 2 words: rebuilding. They had a brand new mill running within a year.
Man. What the hell is Lover's? Abandoned well. This used to be a tunnel. It collapsed.
So we are now very close to entering the area of the railroad and of the Keystone. Back in the day, during the peak of the Nevada Northern Railroad, the track could carry 60 ore trains daily, 30 loaded ore trains from the mines to McGill, and 30 empty ore trains back up the hill to Copper Flat. On Saturday nights, the railroad would run trains from McGill. McGill was at the time a company town and also a dry town. That meant there were no bars, no liquor stores, no way to have a couple drinks with your buddies in McGill. That was all in Erie. So the railroad ran night trains Saturday nights from McGill to Erie where all the bars were. They also ran church trains. Sunday mornings they would take you from the churches, or from your place in Erie to the churches in McGill.
They actually had church trains?
And then return the next day on the church service train. The railroad also provided excursion trains for the employees. The most popular of these excursion trains were the rabbit trains. These were number one.
Behind you is the lover's cabin. Right behind you. Yeah, that's that thing. That's why I wanted to show you.
4 wheels in the front, 4 wheels to provide power, and 0 wheels to support the weight of a firebox. These were not very powerful locomotives. They were not particularly fast locomotives, but they were very quick and dirty designs that got to the Western American railroad. So the railroad operated and numbered at 1. By the peak of the railroad, engine 1 was kind of worn out and had been assigned to rabbit train service. It was said that if engine 1 survived the rabbit trains, it would go back into suburban service. It meant it would go back to the Bay Area and start running suburban commuter trains once again. Its original job. Employees would travel behind number 1 on rabbit trains up the Prairie on the railroad, and they would hunt the rabbits along the line side along the way. It took about 50,000 rounds in order to hunt all the rabbits on these trains, and they would
Coming up to the end of the line.
our train will be facing the other direction and continue away. Keystone is named after the small mining communities that used to exist here before the Robinson Mine. This little town wanted a post office, and the postal service required that in order to receive mail, you had to have a name for the community. The local residents took a look around and they couldn't see anything that particularly stood out to them as a good landmark name for their community. Until one of the residents noticed that all of their mining machines were built by one company out of Pennsylvania, the Keystone Mining Company of Pennsylvania. Their code name, Keystone, is that.
Red box. Not to be confused with the other type of red box.
Yeah, leave you up yours.
All right, with those 3 toots from the locomotive, we are now backing into the Y. We're going to go
I'm
into
fine.
the tail. We'll take a moment to take the temperature of the steam locomotive and make sure
Yep.
it's functioning properly. And if it is, we'll start heading south in about 10 minutes. Excuse me, I said we're heading south. I meant we're heading north.
Well, I'm heading directly into the sun.
That little red shack that we're passing was actually once upon a time a telephone booth. Trains were controlled in and out of Copper Flat by a gentleman who operated that telephone, where a man would get permission from the East Ely dispatcher to send the trains in and out of Copper Flat. That was their way of controlling what's moving down the line of the railroad, and we didn't have any unexpected traffic coming across our trains as they left or entered Copper Flat. Look to the left-hand side of the train as we enter the tail of this Y. Keep an eye out for this little town that we're about to enter. A local band of quote-unquote outlaws constructed a town here so that they would have an easy location from which to rob our trains. Luckily, they're not often in town.
Easy stop. Break anyone out.
Off of the main line. The conductor or the brakeman would then release the brakes on this caboose as their ore train passed, and they would couple up to the rear of this ore train on the fly. This is a highly illegal practice that we do not engage in anymore, but at the time it was officially sanctioned and allowed. But it was very dangerous. And all at once, there was a pair, a conductor, and a rear brakeman who were not paying attention while their car was sitting on that siding off the main line. They had not set the brakes properly on their caboose. The caboose began rolling down the hill, and they didn't notice until their caboose had made about 30 miles an hour down the track. This caboose flew past the loadout structure at Lane City, and somebody saw, so they called the dispatcher in East Ely, who contacted everybody up and down the main line to set the switches to line the caboose through the yard and through East Ely, where the grade changed up the high line, and the caboose was able to slow to a stop on the uphill grade.
That's a funny story.
Behind our train, you can see a massive pile of overburden. That marks the Robinson Mine. Originally, the town of Ruth was actually built right where that pile of overburden sits. The town itself was moved after the mine decided to expand their open pit mining operation and move the overburden on top of where Ruth sat. So the company told everyone who worked for the railroad, who worked for the mine, who lived in Ruth, you have a week vacation. They told everyone to put all of their breakables on the floor of their homes, and everyone took off. When they came back, their homes, their things, their livelihoods were in New Ruth, maybe a couple of miles away from where Old Ruth once sat.
Uh-oh. Not those things again. I thought we were done with those problems. 80, come on. Whoa. That's not a sun I usually see anymore. Jeez, I look like the Shadow
When we
Man.
first started mining the copper ore at Keystone, originally all of that ore was extracted by train. There was about 19 miles of track inside that open pit for the railroad to access the mine. And the track inside the pit was incredibly busy and had to be moved every time the pit was widened. That is to say, every single time they wanted the pit to expand outward, they had to move every inch of track outward as well. They also had track on top of the overburden, which is what you're seeing out here, where they would dump all of the excess ore, excess dirt over the side via railroad dump cars. The rails inside and outside the pit were removed in the early 1960s when operations switched to truck-based mining.
Please hurry up. I have places to go tomorrow. Hurry up.
Who won that game? It's just gonna be England and Argentina and Japan.
Oh, France. Spain and England versus Argentina if they win.
I've been waiting here for, for that long. Not really. I just wanted to make a joke about Loki.
With those two tubes, we are
Get
now
out.
leaving
Bye-bye,
Keystone,
old
and
town.
the train
Hope
has
I never
turned
have to see
around.
you again for
Everything you
like
saw
a month.
out your window on
Wait,
the
no,
uphill
for
journey
like-
will now be on the other
like
side of
5
the train on
years.
the downhill journey, and you'll get a different view on your way back to Ely.
Bye-bye, Roos. Goodbye, railroad. End of railroad. In this direction.
So I mentioned that the railroad stopped stopped mining the copper inside the Robinson mine in the 1960s, and the mine itself shut down in the late 1970s. However, today the mine is back in operation and everything is carried out by truck. The entire railroad from here at the mine to Cobre on the Transcontinental Railroad still exists. And we are actually in the process of writing a grant to reopen the line to do that. Hey, buddy.
Hi. Johnny Ray. Stupid battle droid. Stupid battle droid. We meet again. Don't know when. Don't know when. But I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, like always do. And keep the birds always smile. It won't be long until the mother's screaming this song. We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Bum bum da 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 we'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Dude. I ain't here. He's not highballing in the yard. He's Johnny Raying it in the yard. Ash pit. So cool. I talk too much. Oh no. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This part's gonna be gone. We'll be back right after these messages. Well, technically, I actually went on 2 train rides. One solo and one with my parents because, well, it was the 250th anniversary of this railroad. And I got some videos of the shops. Those will be for the outtake bloopers in the next few days. But besides that, that's basically it.